Well, hello. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Bank Marketing Show. I'm Dan Navalis.
Hey, and I'm Chris Bates. We're glad to have a really great guest on our episode today. So excited about this one, Dan.
Yeah, me too. We talk so much about bank stuff, and we're not going to get fully away from that here. But I'm excited to be talking about some just get our minds going, especially as we're facing down the front end of a new year here.
That's right. Yeah, great timing to have Candie on with us. So, super. Well, Candie Simmons, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I'll give our listeners just, I guess, kind of a quick overview of you and who you are. I know that you and I, through marketing, ran into each other. Gosh, I think we figured out it was 16 years ago. And so it's so great to get reconnected with you and doing some of the work opportunities that we're talking about. But I know that, Candie, you are a proven leader in the banking and related industries, a ton of financial experience. You're currently sitting on the board of a community bank that happens to be here in Mississippi, and which is really great as well. And your, I guess, stream here has evolved you into a consultancy in working around lots of things that we'll discuss today: leadership, motivation, those types of things. So I think it's rare and super cool that we have you on with us today, because you have the banking and the banking industry knowledge, experience, and insight. But you also have so much to offer our listeners today from all of your other expertise. So really looking forward to this, Candie.
Great. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Absolutely. So why don't we dive in with that? Maybe paint us a bit of a picture of kind of how you got here through the banking world. And I know when we met, you were leading marketing for a top 50 financial institution, and have taken several really great steps since then. So kind of tell us a little bit about your pathway.
Well, my pathway is interesting. And you're right. I started out working for a financial institution, spent 16 years there. And when I first started, I would say probably the first 12 years, I was in a marketing role that had me out in the community, focused on financial education, financial literacy, working with a lot of nonprofit organizations, making sure that we were showing up and that our message was clear and supportive of the communities where we did business. And corporate America, it happened to me just like it happens to a lot of us. We went through a workforce reduction. The good thing is I kept a job, but they eliminated the job that I had. And so I went from working out in the community and being visible and face to face to sitting behind a computer all day, every day, working on strategic planning. And I did that for about 4 years because I was working, in Mississippi, where there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for me to jump ship with the type of salary that I was making. And through that, while I was at the bank, they wanted to adopt they wanted all managers to take the Gallup Strengths Finder assessment. And they needed people who were certified in Strengths Finder to do one-on-one coaching, as well as to do team training for different departments within the bank. And while I was in the marketing department, I raised my hand and I was like, I'm interested in doing that. They put me through the certification program where I became a certified coach. And from there, I worked with a lot of different teams, continuing to do my marketing work, continuing to do, financial education and doing different things like that. But I also had an opportunity to be an adjunct for the learning and development department, where they would partner me with managers all over the 16-state footprint. And we would do Zoom calls, or we would do just a phone call, conference call, as well as I would travel primarily throughout Mississippi and work with different teams and coach them on StrengthsFinder, help them to understand what it is and how they can work best together as a team. From there, just because of the work that I did with the bank, I had somebody come and ask me, and I'm sure you know her, Leanne Brewer.
Oh, yeah.
She reached out to me and she wanted me. At that time, she was working at Millsap College, and they have a program called the Advanced Applied Leadership Program. She wanted me to come over and do a training session on presentation skills. And at the time, I was always asked to speak on behalf of the bank, although this was a different type of topic. So I thought nothing of it. I said, sure, I'll do it. Well, I ended up getting paid. And when I found out that I could get paid, for that work and what I was able to get paid, I was like, oh, wow. It kind of opened my eyes to something different. From there, I had another organization reach out. They wanted me to provide training and development for them. And then it just kind of evolved. But I was not ready to leave my job, but I started doing things and getting the different certifications so that I could grow my side business. Well, after being in banking for 16 years and not really liking the job that I've been placed in, I decided to leave and I went into healthcare for a short stint. I was there for about a year and a half, but I didn't like it. I didn't love it. And I was like, what can I control in my life right now? I was like, I can control walking into this hospital every day. And so I resigned from my job. And at the time, I really didn't know what I was going to do. And once I resigned, when you're meeting people and you're seeing people, well, what do you do for a living? That's the common question. That's the common ask. Well, I'm trying to figure it out. And so then I just started having people asking me to do training and development. Can you come up with this? Can you do this? And that has parlayed into what is CL Simmons Consulting. We will be I've had CL Simmons Consulting since 2019, but went full time in March of 2023. So it'll be 3 years in March that I've been operating CL Simmons Consulting full time. We specialize in driving employee engagement, developing effective leaders, and building collaborative workplaces. All of that is through a variety of training and development sessions, but I'm also able to tie in financial education because that is still so near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
So that's my story, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, what a cool ride.
We have a lot of guests on in general, but usually it's one industry or the other. So it's really interesting to hear a story of coming from banking, getting to something else, but still sort of being in the banking sphere.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And, I think it's extra applicable to a lot of our listeners who are, thinking about their careers and kind of what's possible, or even you were talking about just moving from marketing to training and development. There's lots of opportunities there. So you're still on the board of an institution. Like where do you see community banking today? Like what has, from a leadership and from your kind of perspective, what are the kind of opportunities in community banking today, as for the banks themselves, maybe also for the for employees and the people you coach?
Mm-hmm.
The opportunities I see are for community banking to really set themselves apart from bigger banks, larger institutions. The reason why is because it's kind of like Cheers. Everybody knows your name. And so they're able to really connect not only with your employees because you're not so big, and you're able to really emphasize on that employee engagement. So yes, I sit on the board for a financial institution, and we're about 900 million in assets, but it is a very family knit environment, and people are looking for that more. When I tie in and I bring in organizational development and training and development, learning and development, and all of this, and looking at what people are looking for. People are looking for, especially since COVID, they're looking for that community. And so it's already in the word community bank, but they're looking for community within the workplace. They're really looking to get out of this space of being virtual and getting back to being a little bit more face to face. And so there's definitely opportunity there because you're still small enough to be able to do that in the community banking space. It's also an opportunity for your customers to work with them more on a one-on-one basis, not having to jump through a whole lot of red tape in order to get things done and to get things approved. A lot of times when you work with larger organizations, whether it's a financial institution or it's something else, We always know there's a lot of red tape, a lot of hoops, and then you don't know who the person is that you can talk to or that can make the decision. But what happens in community banking and where the advantages are is that the person you're going to church with or the person who you see at Rotary meetings or you volunteer with, they're the decision makers. And so that is where there is a significant advantage for community banks.
I think that's such a great point, and it validates a lot of the things that we try to encourage banks that we work with to do in the realm of marketing. Is to so many banks, Candie, say, well, we're about relationships. It's like, yes, we understand that, and that is your differentiator as a community bank, but tell that story well, and and how to do that. So you make great points about that, and then it's the taking it out there. I think that is marketing's role in that often. So that leads really well into another thought and a question here, Candie. So when you come in with your consultancy, what kinds of problems are banks usually trying to solve? What are some common themes that you see that are some of those challenges that you get to come in and deal with leadership and folks in the bank?
Those challenges that we all deal with, communication and the lack thereof. So it's communication, it's working with someone who's been an excellent producer, which is why you want to promote them to a management level position, but they don't know how to manage people. They may not know how to talk to people, which also still boils back down to communication. Also trying to figure out what is going to drive employee engagement. How do I motivate people? Because you still do have a generation that does prefer this type of setup of being in a virtual environment and don't necessarily want to come into the workplace and don't want to engage. And all they want to do is engage by picking up their phone and sending a text message. And they don't want to necessarily have the face to face interaction. Figure out how we get the different generations to work together, how to keep all of your employees engaged, figuring out how to meet them where they are. But it's also helping those employees understand that, yes, this is a job. Yes, you're getting paid, but what is the bigger picture? And it kind of really goes back to what you talked about, Chris. What is the story? The financial institution where I sit on their board, we talk about that. Yes, you're servicing this customer, whether it's for a loan or you're a teller and you're making a deposit, but there's a story behind that, the funds that they're depositing. There's a story behind the loan that they're getting. Maybe it's their first house. Maybe they've been saving for years in order to make a down payment. And it's figuring out how to make those connections. And so, really, when it comes to training and development, it's helping employees to understand that your job is very important. Even if your job may be to be behind the scenes and not work directly with the customer, your job is important because it's helping the front line, the face to face, your tellers, your lenders. You're helping them to do their job. And ultimately, let's say you're IT and you constantly are getting phone calls because you've got to help somebody because their computer has gone haywire that day. It's helping those employees realize you're a part of this bigger picture. You impact the bottom line just as much as the person who's face to face with the customer impacts the bottom line. And figuring out how they can feel a part, feel engaged, in order to get that buy-in from an organizational standpoint. So that's the biggest thing is communication is probably number one. Being proactive. Not too long ago, I had to come in and do a training on proactive versus reactive. Helping employees understand that when we're reactive, that impacts the customers, which is ultimately going to impact your bottom line.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We talk a lot, Candie, about how marketing is one of those, that we're behind the curtain. Obviously we are as an agency that works with banks, but even marketing within the bank is behind the curtain. The consumers or small business owners or whoever the case may be doesn't necessarily know who's in marketing, nor should they. But it's no less crucial than the ones that are actually up front making the handshake, right? I think that's a lot of what you're saying. And Dan, I know we talk about that often.
Yeah. And we were going to ask about helping people kind of find their purpose a bit next. And I think that's a good segue. And the way I'm thinking about it is like, right, if you're the teller, if you're the frontline, you interact with customers every day. And I know just from talking to a lot of, relationship managers and tellers, like, they find a lot of good purpose in, like you were saying, like helping with the down payment and helping to solve customer problems. But marketing, IT, the folks behind the scenes. How do you think about like helping them connect their day to day to that purpose? I mean, so you talked a little about communication, but like if somebody's struggling with that purpose, like why am I doing IT for this bank versus any other institution?
So that's where I'm able to parlay my marketing background, and I bring that in through a training called Crafting Your Unique Identity. Ultimately, how do you want to show up in the workplace? What do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? For me, I want you to say that I'm a results driven individual who is timely. If I say I'm going to do something, you can consider it done. I'm a woman of my word. So then what I do is during that training, now tie that back to the workplace. What do you want said about you when you're not in the room? And so when you think about how you want to show up in the workplace, that's what's going to drive you as an individual. That's what's going to allow you to be engaged. That's what's going to help you to be an effective leader. And that's ultimately what's going to help the bank, the financial institution, to be successful. And so that is how you kind of pull on those heartstrings of making that connection. I may think that I have a position that is not meaningful, but it is. Everybody's position is meaningful. As I always say, it takes all kinds to make the world go round. Well, it takes all kinds in order for your financial institution to be successful.
Yeah, that's true. I was thinking as you were talking there, like just most financial institutions, you have such a mix of backgrounds and skill sets, and the skill set and what drives to use examples I was using before, what drives a teller and what drives a strategic marketing person and what drives a lending officer are very different things. What they enjoy doing day to day is very very different. And a lot of community banks might only have 20 people, but it's 20 very different people, which you don't see at a lot of other types of organizations.
Well, and I think that's it leads very well to another thought, Dan, which is Candie taking that purpose and that individual reasoning that you were just talking about as well is take that and segue that to teamwork. That is so well said about purpose, but then it's also about collaboration and about teamwork. And one of the examples that we see a lot is often trying to help marketing and compliance work well together. How do we get them on the same dance floor? They, there's combative, and then there's, hey, we really figure out how to do this well together. And that's just an example. But yeah, so talk a little bit about that around collaboration and teamwork.
I have a training session on collaboration too. That is a hot topic as well. And when you talk about compliance and marketing, trying to work together, that definitely is a challenge because marketing likes to go a little bit outside the box. Compliance is trying to keep you right here. And that is where we have to explain the why behind things. That's two different skill sets when you talk about compliance and we talk about marketing. And we have to understand that in essence, it's foreign language from compliance to talk to marketing, marketing to talk to compliance. So how can we explain why we want to do what we're doing and why we need to do it? And sometimes that has to come with data. It has to come with numbers and different things behind that. But when we take time to explain the why behind things, then typically that will help compliance work better with marketing and vice versa. Because marketing may be trying to do something way out of the lines, and compliance may say, well, we have a case or there's something that happened with another financial institution as to why we can't do that. Oh, okay. Well, we need to go back to the drawing board. And so that is why that's where it's very important that we have to learn how to collaborate. And just like you say, teamwork. How do we work better together? And we have to we have to be willing to understand where somebody's coming from. But then two, I have to be willing to explain to you a little bit further why I want to do something and not just tell you what I want to do and expect you to make it happen.
The very different feeling approaches there. That's very well said.
Yeah, if the people you're trying to collaborate with understand why you're trying to do something, they know the rules. They know where the edges of that box are, and can not just keep throwing stuff over the wall, but come to you and say, "Hey, based on what you said, I think this will work." Mm-hmm. I've seen that happen on teams I'm on, and it's magical if you can get people to kind of let down their combative, busy, kind of busy side of their personality, and not just say, "No, we can't do that." What other, I guess, playing off of that, like, what are like the most common kind of teams you help with collaboration? Like, what do you usually see when you come into especially a smaller community bank? Like, where do they often struggle with collaborating across departments?
Well, just like Chris stated earlier, you might walk into a community bank and they only have 20 people who are working. And recognizing that I may have been hired for this particular position. However, if there's a customer that's there and they have a need, then you've got to step in. So it's recognizing that you may have to wear a couple of different hats, because ultimately what's most important is that customer is service. It may be the phone is ringing and you need to pick up the phone. And we have to get away from that's not my job or that's not my responsibility. There's a bigger picture here that we are all trying to support.
And how do you think leadership can transmit that well to others also, Candie? I mean, that because in a lot of ways it does need to start there, and that's who's setting the tone of the corporate culture and those types of things. So how do you kind of communicate with leadership about transmitting what you just described?
Absolutely. I talk to leaders about, one, you've got to manage. You cannot be in the weeds. But when you see your team members falling and they need a little bit more help, just like if they have a full lobby and you have three people who are helping three people and you've got a line of people, well, then the leader has to come out of their office and they have to help facilitate, and work with those customers. And so when you see your leader doing that, then you're going to see, okay, well, I need to step up and I need to do this as well. Everybody's not going to do that. And I've worked with leaders a lot during one-on-one coaching where, you just have that one person who's choosing to not be a team player. Well, that's when you have to step up and have direct conversations. A lot of times, and that leads into conflict resolution. And a lot of times leaders don't want to address the conflict, but you do. Because if you don't address the conflict, if you don't make sure that everybody is playing nice in the sandbox, then it's going to mess up not only your team and how well they work together, but that's going to carry over to your customers and anybody else that you work with. So a lot of times I work with managers and team leaders in one-on-one coaching on how they can coach their employees, coach them up. And unfortunately, sometimes we have to coach them on.
Oh, that's a good point too. Sometimes there's just not a fit. Which I've learned over the years. Sometimes you're giving someone the opportunity to be successful in another role somewhere else that's going to fit better for them, rather than being, you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole and just being miserable. And it's not good for the bank. It's not good, as an organization. It's a great point.
Yeah. And that's why my philosophy with my CL Simmons Consulting, I really follow StrengthsFinder, Gallup StrengthsFinder, where it's to focus on what's right with people versus what's wrong with people.
Mm.
And I do encourage leaders, if you have a set of duties and responsibilities for your department, and it doesn't have to be specifically given to this person, then let's look at what are the strengths of the individuals on your team. What duties and responsibilities can you split up and align with their strengths? Sure, you're going to have 10 to 15% of your job duties and responsibilities that you don't like and that you're just going to have to do.
Yeah.
But where is their opportunity, if it's a special project or something like that, that you can align those strengths up with those duties and responsibilities? Because that's going to help you to get that buy-in and to get more of that team building and teamwork that you want to see.
Yeah, the Strengths Finder is a fascinating tool. I've gone through just the test, not the coaching part, but just the test of it, and just the if you're listening and haven't taken one, go figure out how to get one, how to take one. I think it's $30 or $40 or something, but it's well worth just the understanding you get of yourself, and it's uncanny kind of some of the things it tells you about yourself. And I've seen it happen in organizations, and especially small teams. Like you learn so much from seeing somebody else's assessment, and it'll tell you like ways you can work well together. And it's no joke. Like it's really cool to see the insights it can churn out. And I've seen it work wonders. That's a really cool tool. Even in a small team, I've worked with teams that have done it, just like 3 people on the marketing team, just to do it, to work better together within. I'm sure you've done a lot of those, but it's a great tool.
Absolutely. It also helps you to give your team members grace, because then it's like, okay, now I understand where this person is coming from. Now I understand why this person approaches work this way.
Yeah, and it's like it changes the conversation from, boy, I wish you weren't like that. I wish you weren't like that. Or I wish it would be easier if you liked doing this work, and you can kind of see why they might not, and what, but it's not about, like you were saying a minute ago, it's not about getting people. There's going to be that 10%, a few hours a week of stuff you don't like. That's just going to happen no matter what. And that's probably true in all areas of everyone's life, not just work. You just have to kind of get through that. I don't want to do the dishes. Well, they got to get done. If you want to eat unclean dishes, you got to. But the Strengths Finder will help you do more of the stuff that you do like, or that does give you like energy. But it's not about fully removing the other stuff. It's just sort of if you were saying earlier, it's better to collaborate if you understand why somebody's doing something. And I think it's kind of the same way of that. It just helps you with that collaboration. You understand why somebody might not like a task. Anyway, I'm digressing on it.
And Candie, if you gave the Strengths Finder to Dan and I, in addition to our characteristic qualifications being really dynamic for owning and running marketing agencies, it also would reflect that we have these dynamics for being internationally renowned podcast hosts, as well. So maybe Dan and I need to take that again and have you coach us.
You can definitely take it. It's, you can actually go out there and purchase it, just like you said, Dan. I think it's $30 now. It's about 144 questions. It takes you 30 to 45 minutes. It's going to give you what your top 5 strengths are. It's going to read you. It's going to tell you who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like in an uncanny way. It's like it feels like a horoscope, but it's like actually right. It's like it's like how does it know this from just these 100 or so multiple choice questions?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with that, like we were talking kind of top down of how leaders can help coach and help their teams collaborate, but I want to also talk like with a tool like Strengths Finder. I think I was also going to ask a question, but just how like somebody can influence leadership, kind of manage up. And I think, Strengths Finder is probably one good way to do it if you know somebody else's strengths, or in the parlance, it's their top 5 strengths, like if you know that, you can get some ideas for how to kind of influence. But can you talk about that a little bit more? Like, how could a bank marketer influence their leadership if they really believe and are passionate about doing something and need buy-in, or need to work with compliance in a different way? What are some ways
Absolutely.
they could do it?
So my top 5 strengths: maximizer, deliberative, discipline, responsibility, and harmony. And so where I probably lean a lot into is the harmony aspect of it, which is why I'm able to really talk a lot about collaboration and getting people to work together. It's take a step back, put things in perspective. And it's kind of like a lot of times somebody may say something and you're like, now help me understand why. We need to do more of that. Help me understand. I'm just trying to really understand, because when we take it from that standpoint of I need to understand, then it allows us to work better together. But from a managing up standpoint, if I were talking to someone who's a superior, I would have to know, try to understand what are their strengths. And it would depend upon the situation, but try to lean more into what they're doing. Because in the reverse, what I do is, for me, if I have, just like I say, if I'm trying to get some people to collaborate, or if there's something difficult that needs to be discussed, I'm going to lean more into my harmony. If there's something that needs to be done or taken care of, just like I said, when I was talking about crafting my unique identity, if you ask Candie to do something, consider it done. That ties into my responsibility. So the reverse would be, Candie's responsible. She'll be able to take care of this. So we're going to ask her to take on this particular thing. Where you may have somebody over here who is more of an intellectual, that may be their top 5 strength, and they may take a little bit longer because they're going to take a little bit longer to think about it, and they're not going to be so focused on what the task is at hand. Because you also have 4 different pillars within strengths. I mean, there's a lot with this, but you have those who are on executing, that you have those who are strategic, who are relationship builders. And so when you think about that too, you also, it dives down into that science too. Which of these pillars are you in? A lot of mine are in executing. But if I'm working with someone who's more so in relationship building, they're going to spend a lot more time talking, building that relationship, having conversations rather than executing on what needs to be done.
That's good stuff. Yeah. Well, Candie, this has been so great and insightful. I'm probably like a lot of our listeners. I mean, it would be great to go on all day about this, because you've got so much insight from such a sensible approach to me, again, to purpose, to motivation, to collaboration, all of those things. So just such a great set of approaches here, and really appreciate you sharing it with our listeners. It's certainly got some of my wheels turning, and I would imagine for bankers that are listening to this and folks in the industry is kind of, we can do better that. We can do more of this. We can collaborate better over here. And that's really the purpose, Candie, of what Dan and I are trying to do, is be a resource to people through the show here. So great stuff. Thank you for doing that. But you gave us some insight into what your strengths are, but we can't let you go because we always do our lightning round with guests. So we've got some questions for you as well to give us a little more insight into Candie and who you are. So if you've got just a moment for that.
I do.
All right. Well, let's start with this one. Can you share a personal best and maybe a business best?
Okay. A personal best in what regard?
Well, what's a big success in your world personally?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me start with business. I think I can do that one a little bit better. A business best, just like I say, it'll be 3 years in March, but last year I secured my most significant contract to date. And they have re-upped again for this year. It's a contract where I'm doing 8 training sessions with a Fortune 500 company. And so they have picked me back up for 2026. A personal best, I honestly can't think of a personal best right now. I'm sure I have one, but I can't think of anything.
You do. I know how dynamic of a person you are personally. So
we just got you in like business strengths finder mode, and it's hard to
exactly.
To
Yeah, I was going to say maybe that wasn't a fair question because there's such an. There you go. You're in the strengths finder.
This is what I'll say is my personal best, and this is something that is near and dear to me too, and is completely off the wall of anything we've talked about today. I teach children and adults how to swim. And so I have taught over 500 people how to swim over the course of, I would say, 20 years, 20 plus years. Started teaching when I was in college. I let it go after college because, hey, I got a real job. I'm working in the real world. But now every summer, I still teach swim lessons.
That is too cool. I love it. All right. Well, so another lightning round question is: what's a favorite book of yours, or one that you might recommend?
Yes, I tell you, I read a book. Well, I've actually read quite a few books the past couple of years. I think the name of the book is The Kind Act. Let me see. But we live in a world where there is just so much bad going on. And so this book was focused on just being kind and writing notes to people on a regular basis. This lady set out, and I wish I could think of the name of it. She set out on a daily basis for 1 year to write a note to at least one person.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yes. And I read that book last year, and I actually started doing that. And I was writing notes because what it does is that not only does it make you feel good, it makes that other person feel good. We don't handwrite notes anymore. And it is a way of letting people know how you made them feel. And what their experience was with you, but I cannot think of the name of that book.
Well, Candie, we'll have show notes. So for our listeners, they can go to bankmarketingshow.com and look up the episode, and we'll figure out, or you figure out what the book is, and we'll provide a link to it. That's a cool idea.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I will definitely provide that with you.
Okay.
To you.
All right. So our next lightning round question is, can you think of the most impactful piece of advice that you've ever received?
Well, it came from my dad, and it ties into finances, which is why I am so passionate about teaching people about financial education. He taught me when I got my first job. He said, Candie, I want you to take 20% off the top, set it aside. 10% is for emergencies. The other 10% is for you to not touch at all. And he has set me up by him telling me that when I got my first job at 15, he set me up for a successful financial future. And I've been disciplined. I've done that. I've invested my money. And so that is one thing that I talk about on a regular basis. On Fridays, I do a coffee conversations with Candie, and I post it to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and it's a different financial tip. But the one I come back to all the time is pay yourself first.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah. I know my kids are all kids and stepkids are into their 20s and early 30s at this point. I wish I could back up, about at least 10 years and ingrain that in them. So what great advice you got from your dad. Yeah. Well, flipping that around, what is maybe something else that you offer or advise to your clients or those that you're working with that comes to mind for you?
Well, there's 3 pillars for my business. One is professional coaching, where that's one-on-one, training and development, and strategic planning. We also offer strategic planning services. The good thing about that is when we come in and we do a strategic plan, most of the time that strategic plan is going to touch on your people. People are who we work with, and then we're able to tie ourselves into the training and development aspect of that.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. Well, again, to our show notes, and when the episode is out, Candie, we'll have links to your website and all of that. But what are kind of the best ways for folks to get in touch with you?
The best way to reach me is through my website, clsimmonsconsulting.com. And on the discovery page, you can click and schedule a time to have a discovery call with me. It's a free 30-minute call to learn about what your needs are and how CL Simmons Consulting can partner with you.
Great. Well, we can't thank you enough for sharing your insight, your expertise, your passion for what it is that you do. And I'm sure that is felt a lot by our listeners.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I've really enjoyed this. This has been a great opportunity.
Awesome.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff. And I'm sure there's some good takeaways for any bank listening, thinking about their team. So thank you for the time. Thank you for being on.
Yeah. Well, and we want to invite our listeners also to be sure to share this episode. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the Bank Marketing Show on whatever platform or podcast channel that you're listening to this on.
Or YouTube.
Or YouTube. That's right. Since we're on there as well, and connect with us through bankmarketingshow.com. Just like you, Candie, we love just to have conversations, to answer questions, and share some of our insights with folks too. So thanks so much for being with us today, Candie.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us. To go deeper or get access to some of the valuable nuggets from today's show, go to bankmarketingshow.com. There you'll find episodes, links to resources, and much more. Be sure to subscribe wherever you find your podcasts. And join us next time.